Now everybody can see my PowerPoint slide now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Visual text. This one we're going to do today. But visual text for exam, right? It will actually be 8 marks. It's 8 marks, 8 questions. Okay. 8 marks, 8 questions. I don't know why I wrote 10 marks. Wait, let me just double check that. 8 marks, visual. Yes, it's 8 marks, 8 questions, okay? So visual text, basically, visual means something you can see. So it can be a poster, it can be an advertisement, but it'll be a picture. And using the picture, you can answer questions. So all of you, I mean, 2 of you got full marks. Jessie and Shiloh got full marks. Well done, by the way. By the way, I didn't get to talk to Jessie because you were missing for 2 lessons. How was Chinese New Year? Good? Did you collect a lot of ang pao? But what's your favorite part of Chinese New Year? Was it collecting ang pao or meeting your family?
The food.
Oh, was it meeting your family or collecting ang pao? That's my question. You cannot choose? Okay, never mind. You cannot choose, it's fine. But you met your cousins. Yes, Shiloh? You're muted.
Getting like a lot of money from the ang pao.
Okay, thank you for answering Jessie's question. You can give yourself a point. What about Nicholas? I didn't get to see Nicholas as well. You collect a lot of ang pao? Yes?
Yes.
Did you meet your family and cousins and friends?
Good.
Were you happy to meet your family members, your relatives? No? You don't know? Okay. Yes, Elias?
I was also gonna answer. My favorite part of Chinese New Year is that I get to eat.
Oh, that's nice. What's your favorite Chinese New Year goodie? Some people like pineapple tart, some people like dumplings. What about you?
Love letters.
Love letters. That's nice. I haven't eaten love letters in a long time. Actually, I have it at home because my neighbors are Chinese, so they gave some to me. I'll try later. You give yourself a point. Thank you for answering my question. Okay, so visual text is basically visual, a picture, and then you answer questions, right? So there's that. Now, most of you who lost marks for this one. So later pay attention, visual text. This one you should score full marks. 8 marks is given to you on your plate. You know why? Because all the answers are in the visual text, right? So that shouldn't be possible. So always must read the visual text first. But before we start, here is my puzzle for today. Riddle. Who can answer this question? Later you can ask your parents and your friends the answer to this question. This is called an AND riddle because the answer to this ends with AND. Who knows the answer? If you know maths, you know the answer already. What does 5 ends plus 5 ends? Anyone raise your hand? Yes, Varna.
10 ends.
Yes, and you. Okay, I'm going to write it. Okay, wait, look here. Give yourself a point, by the way, Varna. 10 ends. Now, this is actually an English word. It's not pronounced as 10 ends. Who knows how to pronounce this? Shiloh? Your hand's raised. I see, Shiloh. Yes. You can unmute yourself, Shiloh. How do you pronounce this word? It is not 10 ends. I mean, maths is 5 ends plus 5 ends equals 10 ends. But this is actually an English word. It means something. What does 10? How do you pronounce this? Anyone knows? Anyone knows how to pronounce this? No one? Okay, I will tell you. Listen carefully. This word is pronounced as tenant. A tenant, this is a noun, it's a naming word. What does it mean? You know when you have a house and you own the house, but you want to rent rooms to other people to actually rent in your stay in your house, but they pay you monthly. For example, my house is so big. I got 2 rooms that are empty. So I have a tenant. I have 2 tenants, for example. Okay, one person living in one room, the other person living in another room. They are called tenants because this is not their house. They are renting, they are paying money to me to stay in that house. So that is called a tenant. This is a very important word. If you see in vocabulary English next time, you know. Tenants. So you can ask this riddle to your parents, see anyone know or not. Basically, ends, the word ends with the word ends, right? But then 10, you spell out 10. Okay, tenants. Next lesson, I will give you another ant riddle. So the word will end with ant again. Yes, Elias, your hand's up.
Oh, I'm just gonna that my old house, a tenant rented it.
Oh, so you know the word. Yes. So just ask you how to pronounce, you can say what? This is not 10 ants, it's tenants.
But because I don't know how it was spelled.
I wrote it on the screen, my dear. Can you see? Tenant.
Yeah,
So basically you spell out.
Now I know how to spell it.
Yeah, because 5 plus fly, I mean, if you spell out the word 10 is T-E-N, right? Then ends. This is how you remember. 10 ends. But you don't say 10 ends, you say tenants. Okay, very good. Thank you for sharing that about your rent. Someone renting a house. You can give yourself a point. We're going to start with today's lesson. Today, we're learning something new. It is called question tags. Now, in your 10 grammar MCQ questions, none of it was actually a question tag. But for PSLE, you will at least have one question, which will be testing you on question tags. So you're going to learn about question tags. Now, what is question tag? Anyone knows? Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, let's look at this. These are some examples of question. Oh, I missed the screen. Oh, yes, I missed the screen. This is the screen I missed. Okay, last lesson. Oh, yes, Jessie, your hand's raised.
Like on my assessment books, I used to do before question tags, but I just don't understand what is question tags.
Yes, very good. Thank you. So today you're going to learn. You can give yourself a point for letting me know about that. So today you're going to learn what is question tags. So obviously you will see in your assessment book because it's a very famous PSLE question. Okay, today we are going to learn what auxiliary verbs are. Last lesson on Saturday, some of you didn't come, right? Nicholas, Jessie, and one more person wasn't here. So you didn't learn modal verbs, but I'm going to recap. Anyone who are here can tell me what are modal verbs. 2 points. See if you're paying attention. What are modal verbs? Remember I rapped on Saturday. What are modal verbs? Example of modal verbs. Modal comes in front of the main verb, right? They are helping verbs. So what are examples of helping verbs? Anyone? I'm going to cry. This is very sad. No one remembers any modal verbs? Okay, can you take a piece of paper? Make sure you have a piece of paper in front of you or a pen. Write it down. Examples of modal verbs are these. Can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, might, and must. There are 9 modal verbs in English. These modal verbs always come together with a main verb, or sometimes they just come there just by itself because they are helping verbs. Why are they called helping verbs? Because they express a necessity or a possibility. I will explain, don't worry. For example, possibility. For example, you must finish your homework. Must. So it's a necessity. It's an example of a necessity, right? May I go to the toilet? That's permission, right? May, I'm asking, may I go to the toilet? I can swim. Okay, that's a possibility. I mean, I might be able to do this question. Might, it's a possibility. So I might be able to answer Miss Nisha's question. It's a possibility. So these verbs, these are actually verbs, even though they're not action, but they are supporting the main verb, okay? Now, today we're learning about auxiliary verbs, very important. They are also helping verbs. So basically all these verbs on this screen, they all fall under auxiliary verbs. They are separated into 2 just for understanding. These are modal verbs. These are can, that is a rep. Can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, must, might. Okay, these are all modal verbs. Now, auxiliary verbs are very important for question tags. Now, example of question auxiliary verbs, write it down, are the have and the have, do, and be. So present tense is have and has, past tense is had, right? Do, did is the past tense, right? And does the present tense. Be, am, is, was, were, okay, being, and been. These are all auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are used in question tag. That's why you're learning auxiliary verbs today. So have, has, had, do, did, does, be, am, is, all of these. Okay, basically as long as you can change the tense, past tense and present tense, they are all verbs if you noticed. Right, not just action words, but all of these are all auxiliary verbs. Okay, now if you have no time to copy this, never mind. This will be in your class notes, so you can always download in your class notes, look at the past lesson, download it, and you will have it in your slide. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next slide. Okay, so question tags are common in dialogue. Now, for example, this is a trick. This is how you answer the question, okay? This question tags are made up of 2 parts. The first part, this is a statement. It's called a statement, okay? And then this part is called the question tag, because question mark, right? So statement, question tag, statement, question tag, statement, question tag. Now, if the statement is positive, the question tag is negative. If the statement is negative, the question tag is positive. Now, how do you know if it's positive or negative? For example, if not, weren't is a short form for were not. Haven't is a short form for have not. If not is present in the statement is negative. If there is no not, the statement is positive. Now, let me see if you understand what I've been talking from just now. Let me see. Jessie, number 1, can you tell me the statement is negative or positive? You are a busy student. Is the statement negative or positive?
Positive.
Very good. Can you tell me why? Because there's no not, right? It's not you aren't a busy student, right? There's no aren't is short form for are not. So there's no not. So it makes it positive, which means the question tag must it be positive or negative?
Negative.
Very good, because the statement is positive, right? So the question tag must be negative, which means the question tag must have the not. So the answer will be, yes, give yourself 2 points. Aren't you? Okay, it's always followed by the auxiliary verb plus the pronoun. So use the pronoun, right? You, aren't you. So are is the verb. You will just add the not, apostrophe T. So aren't you? Next one, Elias. They weren't late. Is this statement positive or negative?
Positive.
Yeah, hello. How is it positive? Were not. It's a not. Not becomes negative. So this is a negative. Good try. So the question tag must be positive or negative?
Negative.
If the statement is negative, the question tag is positive. If the statement
positive.
is, yes, it's positive. So because here is were not, it will become were they. Because they is the pronoun, okay? You always use the pronoun who you're talking about at the end. So were they. So this is the auxiliary verb, right? So you use were they. Next one, Lavinesh. They haven't arrived. Is this positive or negative statement? They haven't arrived. Positive or negative statement? Yes, Nicholas. Your hand was up. Weren't. Yes.
Negative.
I cannot hear you. Sorry, what? Negative. You said negative. Yes, very good. Nicholas said negative, is it? Yes, give yourself a point. Very good. Write yourself a point. Because of the word not, right? This is negative, which means the question tag must be, Shiloh? Your hand was raised. Somebody raised your hand. Okay, who's Elias? The question tag must be?
Positive.
Very good. So what's the answer? Have not becomes?
Positive. I mean, yeah, positive.
Which means you remove the not, right? So have they. Have they, because you're removing the not and you're putting it, make it, so basically you just look at the auxiliary verb. These are weren't, haven't, our auxiliary verbs. And then you remove the not if it's negative and you put it as a positive. So here have they. Last one, who wants to give you the answer? Yes, Jessie?
Don't you?
Very good. Now this one is the most hardest, actually gives out a point. This is the most hardest. Do you know why? Because there is no verb here. There's no auxiliary verb here, right? You have to, when there's no auxiliary verb, it's usually did or don't or does. So here is don't you, because you're asking, do you love English? Don't you? Don't you love English? Don't you? So this one, now who can tell me, you love English positive or negative?
Positive.
Very good, because there's no not, right? So here becomes negative. That's why it's don't you, because it's negative. So remember, if the statement is positive, the question tag is negative. The statement is negative, the question tag is positive. Okay? Very good. Now let's look at some comics. Who likes to read comics? Yes. Anyone likes to read? How many of you have read Peanuts, this comic before? You have? Okay, so basically comics are one good source where you always see a lot of question tags. Can you give me an example of a question tag in this comics? Anyone? Raise your hand. Yes, Shiloh? I mean, sorry, not Shiloh, Jessie, yes.
Like the The second picture is says, looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yes, doesn't it is short form for does.